Hi, hey Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Today I want to talk about foot levelers, or levelers like you put on cabinets and carts and things like that. So if you wanted to set rigid and level, flat, you might put a set of levelers on something instead of putting wheels. Or you might use both. I do that all the time where I'll have casters on it and I can screw the levelers down, and then that stops it from moving and makes it, I can make it level with the levelers then. So they're good to have around. The thing is that I tend to make my own. I've made a lot of them over the years, and I've kind of evolved on how I make them. Let me show you how I make mine and why I do everything the way I do, because now I kind of make them all the same, and it becomes very handy to be able to make them that way. Whether I'm making furniture or needing levelers on a cabinet that I have in the shop, it doesn't matter. I can use this same system, and it works very well for all of that. So first off, let's talk about why I'm even talking about foot levelers. Today I was watching a video, and the guy on there that I subscribed to was putting levelers on his cabinets. He had a whole row of cabinets along this wall, probably 20 feet of cabinet, and he was talking about wanting to use foot levelers instead of shimmying the cabinets to hold them level in where they're going to sit. But the thing that caught my eye or my ear or whatever was the idea that he said that he bought his from Rockler, and he showed the one that he bought. And I went out to Rockler and looked at it, and you can buy a set of 4 for $26. The only problem is, to do his row of cabinets, he said that he used 14 of them. So that means that he spent over $100 on foot levelers. You can say what you want, but if I'm going to build cabinets and I still got to spend another $100 just to make it level, I think there must be a better way. And quite honestly, you stick around, you'll find out that there is. Because I do make my own levelers. I make my own cabinet handles, my own doors. I make my own hinges. And I do make my own levelers. And they've worked real well for me over the years, and I think I've kind of got it almost perfected now. So let me show you where I'm at now with them, and we can go from there. First off, let's talk about the parts you'll need, because this thing is cheap. I can do this for under $1, quite honestly, if I want to make these levelers. And then I'll stack it up to any leveler out there by any commercial place as far as the strength and everything. So in parts, all you need is a carriage bolt. 3 inches long is best. No less than 2 probably wouldn't work very well. You need a regular nut. This is all 16 thread, 3/8 of a bolt. I like to use that size to make sure I got enough strength in my leg, in my foot adjuster. 1 nut and 1 T-nut. And then a couple of pieces of scrap wood. 1 3/4 inch piece and 1 inch and a half piece. So I took a piece of 2x4 and I cut it down, and it's about 4 inches or so tall. And I put a pocket hole screw on this side and 2 on this side, facing this side, one edge. That's the edge that most of the time we'll mount to the cabinet, and these pocket hole screws will hold it, toenail it into the surface to hold it there. And I'm using the pocket holes on both sides so that I get that toenail strength that you can get. And I've talked about that in some of my other pocket hole tricks and out there. So you might want to check that video. But anyway, so I do that. Now I can still take this and mount it flat like this on my surface of inside my cabinet, outside my cabinet, or I can mount it like this on edge. And either way works just as well. On the base of the foot leveler, the only thing I have to do is I cut it to the shape that I want and to the dimensions, and then I take and I drill a hole 7/16 of an inch in diameter so that the barrel of the T-nut fits snugly into the hole, and I drill it down far enough that the bolt will screw all the way in there without bottoming out. Then I put the T-nut in there and hammer it home, and this part is done, ready to go. As far as this part, I take the 3/4 inch piece of wood and I cut a 2.5 by 2.5 inch square. And then I cut the corners off so that every edge, it's 2.5 inches from here to here. And on all 8 of these sides, measuring across, we'll measure 2.5 inches. So that is kind of important, and you'll see why here in a minute. I also want to make sure that this hole here is centered down from this mounting edge. You want this to be at least more than 1.25 inches distance from it. And you'll see why that is in a minute. So, but once you get this all put together, then all you have to do is put it together, and this thing is ready to mount on a cabinet. So now I can take it, and if I have my cabinet here, and that's the cabinet wall, I can take this and mount it like this against there. I can mount it on the outside of the cabinet. I can mount it sideways on the cabinet. I can mount it on the inside of the cabinet, either flat or on edge, to get what I want, and I still can get access to that adjuster down there. All you want to do is make sure that whatever distance you make this, make sure that it is adjusted to the right place so that you can get the kind of height you want at the low point and at the high point. And once it's in place, you can screw them down till they all four make contact, use a leveler, and screw them up and down. Now sometimes if there's a lot of weight in your cabinet when you want to level these are hard to turn by hand, especially when this is screwed up most of the way in, where you can't hardly get your fingers between here and the floor and the bottom of the cabinet. So when it gets like that, I also have this I made. That's why I keep these all at 2.5 inches. And I made this so that it fits. It fits on there like that. Nice and easy. So that way I can grab my wrench and use it on any of my levelers around the shop. So when this is sitting here on my cabinet, sitting like this, I can grab this and put it in there, and I can adjust this either up or down real easily, no matter how much weight is pushing down on that. This makes it easy to turn it. Or however tight the quarters are in there, I can do it very easily with this. This is 3/4 inch thick, same as this bottom piece, but you could even make this a 1/2 inch thick and it'd be enough. It really doesn't take much force to use this thing ever to turn that. So this thing doesn't have to be really super strong, but you just want it to be nice and flat, so when you lay it, you can get it and slide it into place to be able to turn it, is all. But this is very handy in conjunction with all of my levelers to do that. So the adjusting, it makes it very easy, and the wrench makes it even easier under certain circumstances. So let's talk about these things and how they can slide and not slide. Because when you put it down like this and it's wood, this thing actually can slide reasonably easy in here. So, but you can take and put a piece of rubber and then contact cement or any kind of epoxy or anything and put it on the bottom and glue it on there, so when you then have it down, that holds that from moving around. So I can very easily add a piece of rubber if I want to. I can leave it just wood. Like in the shop, a lot of times I just leave them wood, so if I need to move this a little bit, it's easy to move it. And it still holds pretty sturdy. But sometimes you actually want this thing to be able to be easy to move. In which case, you can take a piece of, this is just a piece of milk carton. And you should recognize that shape. But I can put this on here, like so, and I fasten it down with tabs and then nail them into the tab or something. And when I get done, now I have the bottom that's got that on there. Now this thing slides. So this is actually a little foot leveler and slide. So for indoor furniture, this is a great setup. This works real well to do that. And there's lots of ways you can fasten this to the bottom, however you want. So we can get into that. That's a video all to itself. But applying this plastic to the bottom of your levelers, that makes it really nice to make them sliders. So they're handy little sliders too sometimes. So they also can be used in conjunction with casters and wheels. For example, if I have a cabinet right here, this is one side of the cabinet, I can take and put a wheel back here and put my leveler on the front part And same thing on the other side over here, on the back corner in that. And then I can use these two in conjunction with the wheels to hold it in place. And if I want to move it, I can just have a little handle on the back side here that comes out that you can lean it back on the wheels and roll it around. I could put 4 casters on this, which is the other thing I sometimes will do, is you can take this same cabinet. Let's start over. You can take this same cabinet now and put 4 casters on it that swivel, then on 2 or 3 different places, put one of your levelers here like this, and then when you want it to not move, you screw these 3 levelers down, and the casters are still touching the floor, but the levelers will help level it and keep it from moving around while it's sitting in one place, even though it has casters. That way, you can actually buy non-locking casters. Save a lot of money by doing that, because locking casters usually cost quite a bit more than non-locking casters. So that will save you money. So that's just something you can do with levelers too, is use them to help lock your piece to the floor so it doesn't move around when you want to, and unscrew them when you want to roll it around on the wheels. This is pretty close to what I do with my toolbox cabinet right here at the bottom. My bottom plate has casters all underneath there. And so when I move that around on those casters. And when I get it in place, I have levelers. I just take these and I fasten them down on all 4 corners. And then I screw them down till they're really pushing hard to help hold it. That helps steady it. And it keeps it from rolling around on the casters. And if I need to move it, I just pull this back off of there. So they're actually very handy. You can leave them on, you can take them off, but they're handy to help stabilize something if you got it on casters. But when you get it into place, it's a good way to lock it down without having to use locking casters. So very versatile, this foot leveler. And there's lots of other things you can do with it. I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head. And you might come up with another idea. And if you do, just leave it in the comments. Love to hear about it. If you have any other ideas about how to make it even better, let me know. This works very well for me. Between the size of it, having a good steady upper block that's easy to mount in multiple ways, and also to have the ability to adjust it right at the floor level with the wrench, makes this a really handy little design. So that's what I've got. I use that almost exclusively now anywhere in my shop if I need some kind of foot leveler or some kind of stop on a cart to keep it from rolling around. That's what I use. So you might keep this in mind. It's a lot cheaper than buying them, I can tell you. So if you have any questions about comments, just leave them below. If you like this video, or if you learned something here, hit that like button. It really helps me out to understand if I'm doing the right thing or not. So most importantly though, please come back again, because we're nowhere near done around here. Thanks, and we'll see you again very soon.